everyone. Namaskar, salam, sat sri akal, vanakkam. Wish you all a very happy Independence Day. Hope you are all safe and sound. As monsoon covers the entire country, the sweltering heat has given way to the rhythm of raindrops. So we thought of a novel idea to bring you up to speed with news, views, information and lots more. How do you stay updated about what's happening in the world of real estate? Emails are a passé. Videos require bandwidth. So we thought about an audio solution. And here we are. Starting today, we kick off Keeping It Real by Housing.com, a podcast that will be delivered to your mobile phones twice a month, capturing the highlights of all that has happened in the real estate industry in the past 2 weeks. An explainer on a chosen subject and a deep dive on an industry trend or topic. You can catch the episode on Housing.com on the Housing.com app, on Earshot.in, Spotify.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Ghana.com and Jio Saavn. If you missed the episode, don't worry. We have you covered. Wear your headphones or put on the phone speaker. You can listen to this while driving, eating, cooking, jogging, running, walking, chopping vegetables, or basically doing anything else, whenever you want, wherever you want. A yet another interest rate hike by the Reserve Bank of India. 61 lakh Pakka houses made under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Maharashtra to revive stuck housing projects. 18% GST applicable on renting of residential property. Private equity investments in prop tech climb 35%. Can Soho address India's realty needs in a WFH scenario? And the difference between lease and license agreements. Details of all these and much more in this episode. Stay tuned.
The Monetary Policy Committee, that is MPC, met on 3rd to 5th August and reviewed the macroeconomic situation and its outlook. The MPC decided unanimously to increase the policy repo rate by 50 basis points, 50 basis points to 5.4% with immediate effect. Consequently, the standing deposit facility, that is SDF rate, stands adjusted to 5.15%, and the marginal standing facility, that is MSF rate, and the bank rate stand revised to 5.65%. The MPC also decided to remain focused on withdrawal of accommodation to ensure that inflation remains within the target going forward while supporting growth.
The Reserve Bank of India Governor Shakti Kant Das-led Monetary Policy Committee hiked the policy repo, the rate at which banks borrow from the RBI, by 50 basis points to 5.40% for the third time in a row on August 5th, in order to tame the inflationary pressure. According to Mr. Dhruv Agarwal, Group CEO of Housing.com, PropTiger.com and Makaan.com, this was not entirely surprising, as this is to address concerns around inflation and the declining value of the rupee. Mr. Agarwal said, the new rate will ultimately impact the cost of borrowing for India's home buyers. However, it is also pertinent to note that past rate hikes and the consequent increase in home loan rates have so far not had any discernible negative impact on the burgeoning demand for homes. We believe that positive buyer sentiment coupled with renewed interest of investors in residential real estate will cushion some of the adverse impact of the rate hike. A total of 61 lakh all-weather Pakka houses out of 1.22 crore houses have been constructed or delivered to beneficiaries under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban's Housing for All mission. Union Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has informed Parliament. Under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urbans, central assistance has been provided to states, and under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, central assistance has been provided to states and union territories since June 25, 2015, for giving all-weather Pakka houses to eligible urban beneficiaries. including homeless people. Puri said in Lok Sabha that based on the project proposals submitted by states and UTs, a total of 1.22 crore houses have been sanctioned during the mission period, that is, till 31st March 2022. And completion of the projects generally takes around 12 to 36 months in different verticals of the scheme. The Slum Rehabilitation Authority of the Maharashtra government has received 4 applicants from financial institutions interested in taking over stuck rehabilitation projects funded by them. The Maharashtra government in the last week of May 2022 had approved the amnesty scheme under which financial institutions that are registered with the Reserve Bank of India, Securities and Exchange Board of India, and the National Housing Bank and have financed stuck schemes will be allowed to take over redevelopment of stuck projects. In Mumbai, over 500 slum redevelopment projects are stuck, and the Maharashtra government has plans to revive these projects to ensure those displaced get a house, and the financial institutions that are making losses can recover their money. In a move that would significantly change the dynamics of rental real estate in India, the Goods and Services Tax Council has decided to do away with the exemptions so far granted to renting of residential units to businesses. Earlier, under Entry 12 of Notification 12 of 2017 of the Central Tax Rate dated June 28, 2017, services by way of renting of residential dwelling for use as residence were exempt from paying GST, while leasing of residential units for commercial purposes attracted 18% GST. In its 47th meeting on July 13, 2022, the GST Council decided that GST will be applicable if a residential property is rented out to a person or entity registered under the new tax regime. The new rule, under which the tenant will be responsible for paying GST at 18%, came into effect from July 18, 2022. Experts are of the view that the move will adversely affect the growth of rental real estate in India. Private equity or PE investments in PropTech firms have increased by 35% during the last calendar year to a record $741 million, driven by increased adoption of technology in the real estate sector, according to the latest report by the country's leading digital real estate firm, Housing.com. Research by the REA, India-owned leading full-stack digital real estate platform Housing.com, found that the inflow of funds into PropTech firms stood at $551 million in the 2020 calendar year. The PropTech industry in India has received a total of $3.2 billion private funding between 2009 and 2021. The investments tracked include private equity, venture capital, debt, PIPE, that is private investment in public entities, project-level investments, and pre-IPO private equity deals at the early, growth and late stage. The annual report on the sector titled PropTech India Monitor 2022 by Housing.com, that is part of the REA India, which also owns PropTiger.com and Makaan.com, stated that in India, private equity investments in PropTech firms have been growing at a CAGR of 55% since 2010. The growing investor confidence has pushed the average deal size of private equity investments in PropTech to an all-time high of $25 million in 2021. This is what Ankita Sood, head of research at Housing.com, said.
The pandemic has definitely turned out to be a crucial turning point for the PropTech space in India, with segments attracting $741 million in 2021. A 35% growth from the pandemic year of 2020. Like many other sectors, real estate managed to leverage the digital acceleration witnessed in India during the pandemic period. The adoption of new age technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual and augmented reality, and blockchain opened up new opportunities for startups in the PropTech space. The latest trends highlight that while PropTech segments such as sales and marketing continue to garner investor interest, private equity inflow has significantly picked up in construction technology, as one of its uses is that it aids in achieving greater efficiency and increases cost saving, which is an important factor amid the rising input cost. We see the next 5 years bringing in sizable investment in the modernization of the real estate sector across segments and not only these two segments.
Time was when getting to work was a 2-hour affair. No, it was not just about the commute time alone. It also meant one had to get up early, get their children ready for school, drop children to school or to bus stops, get ready for work, grab your quick breakfast, pack lunch and rush to work. The pandemic has changed this dramatically, and how? In a post-pandemic world, getting to work has transformed into a commute of a few meters, literally, from one room to another room within people's homes. All one needed was a good internet bandwidth, a smart device, that is a smartphone, a laptop or a tablet. One of the most evident changes has been in the way businesses now go about their work. Work from home is now a reality. It has brought in time efficiencies. It has brought in cost efficiencies. The pandemic has proved to be the pivot moment for India's realty sector. Soho, or Small Office Home Office, is now back in business. Soho serves the dual purpose of providing a small home that is loaded with small office features and vice versa. It is pretty much the first choice of budget-conscious young couples, corporates, professionals with multi-city presence, and lifestyle-seeking youngsters. Rohit Hastir, Chief Human Resource Officer of Housing.com, says that the coronavirus pandemic, popularizing the concept of work from home and hybrid working, most people have accepted the fact that this concept is here to stay.
I think the greatest legacy that the pandemic has left behind is the new way of boundaryless working. Today, organizations across the globe realize upside of moving in this direction as it offers better work-life integration, higher efficiencies, and the flexibility for people to work from wherever they wish to, be it their native in any part of the country or even outside, or even a holiday destination of their choice. At REA India, our future of work policy enables people to choose to work from anywhere depending upon their role within the organization. With the ever-evolving world, the necessity of the new normal, as well as the culture of challenging the status quo, we are one of the few organizations that redefined conventional workplace norms and truly became boundaryless for good. To work successfully in such a setup, all that you need is a good connectivity to support your office devices, a dedicated corner for work, and checkpoints to connect with your team seamlessly. One can ensure high productivity levels in remote working by maintaining small checks like ensuring noise-free work corners, well-lit workplaces, stretch spots, and ensuring breaks from work. We should also be mindful about the need of people to socialize and connect with one another so that people remain wired with the organization's philosophy and culture. Once a while, team must connect outside of work, go for team outings, and interact with newbies to stay glued.
Amit Goenka, MD and CEO at Nices Finance, echoed similar views. The idea that Soho is here to stay is changing the demand pattern for housing, with 3 and 4 BHK homes becoming more popular than in the past.
Several new ideas are being experimented with regards to Soho spaces in India. Common areas in societies are being converted to co-working. Use of collapsible and dual-use furniture in homes and office pods or cubicles are finding niche spaces for work from home. Innovative interior designers are experimenting with new solutions for flexible spaces in existing homes. Customized solutions basis the consumer needs are being rapidly created to balance work and living spaces across flat configurations to allow a non-intrusive work and live environment. These solutions are effective and budget-friendly. However, the efficiency seen in countries like Japan and Korea on space utilization for work, live and recreation are yet to be implemented on a wide scale in India. We see this as a unique opportunity to optimize space and increase returns on investment.
What is a lease agreement? What is a license agreement? Well, let us break it down for you. So, what is a lease in property renting? When a property owner, through a registered agreement, grants a tenant certain rights on his immovable property for a specific period in return for the payment of rent, this arrangement is known as leasing in legal parlance. And what is a license in property renting? When a landlord, for a specific purpose, grants temporary accommodation of his property to another party through a contract, it is done by issuing a license in return for the payment of rent. Unlike a lease, a license does not give the other party any exclusive possession right over the premises. The key difference between the two arrangements lies in the manner in which the tenant is allowed to use the rented premises. The ownership of the said property continues to lie with the landlord under a lease, as well as license agreement. However, while a lease grants the tenant a certain right to use the premises for a specific period, a license only ensures the short-term occupancy or use of the premises by the tenant. Unless you have the written permission of the owner to do so, occupying another person's property is against the law. For example, a rent agreement is basically a lease, while the permission to use a banquet hall for a wedding ceremony is a license. Licenses lose validity as soon as the specific task for which it was drafted is concluded. On the other hand, a lease could be signed for a wide range of periods, for 1 year to perpetuity. It is also important to note here that a lease comes to an end only after the period specified in the agreement, and the landlord generally cannot revoke it before this period. The same is not true of license agreements. They can be revoked as and when the landlord deems fit. Under the 2019 draft law, a rent authority ought to be set up, which will help landlords seek eviction of tenants. In a license, because there is no possession by the tenant, the need for eviction does not arise. A lease can be transferred to third parties and legal heirs, while a license cannot be transferred. That's it from us for this episode. We shall be back again with fresh new episode of Keeping It Real by Housing.com in 2 weeks from now, with new information, news, and insights on the real estate industry. Do log on to Housing.com for more about the property market. Yahan search khatam karo. Take care and stay safe.